What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for stopping in. Today we are taking a look at a brand spanking new knife coming in from Lothar Knives. This is called the ChallengerK1. Thank you to them for sending this in. This is an interesting knife, guys. I didn't want to do a rudimentary unboxing with this one. Wanted to try something a little bit different. But we have a very interesting knife on our hands here, and I'm going to need your guys' help to kind of make up my mind on this knife. So let's start with this thing. It's called the ChallengerK1, coming in from Lothar Knives. There's not a lot out there on Lothar. They can be found on Amazon. They do have their own website. I'll try to link what I can on this knife down below in the description. We are looking at a healthy knife. This is a good size, probably right around 8 inches, I'm going to say. We're looking at a dull ground drop point blade in 14C 28N steel, if I remember correctly, 59 to 61 on the HRC, and this is dull ground. We have a hollow running into a flat going up there towards the tip, and then we have a nice flat up here that just runs along the spine. Very nice tall blade shape, very beautiful looking blade shape. Satin finish, looks clean. We do have just a dual thumb stud for our opening methods here, and they are placed well. They are done well. We are looking at a plunge button lock for our locking mechanism, and they did a very good job on tuning this knife for the opening methods. The thumb and reverse flick are absolute money. If you stay high on the stud, you can slow roll this out. Kind of kicks if you stay low, like down here. But and that's a good thing. That means it wants to jump out of there. So you get a very satisfying opening action. And for the closing, it is buttery smooth, and there's no resistance when holding that button in. The blade is just free flowing. It came centered right out of the box. We are looking at a steel handle here with a milled steel clip. Right hand carry only. We have a G10, this is an inlaid Damascus G10, and it is some good looking stuff. I admittedly have never seen this before. It really reminds me of like a raindrop carbon fiber in a different color. It looks very good, whatever it is. Now, we have a steel handle with heavily chamfered edges. It looks really good. And then straight down the center, we have that inlay on both sides. And I did go over it with a fine-tooth comb. There's not a rough edge anywhere all the way around this thing on both sides. It is inlaid in there very nicely. I'll try to give you a close-up of this thing, but not a miss anywhere that I can see. Very good looking. We'll check that clip as well. Decent sharpening choil there. Very nice sharpening choil in my opinion here. We do have some jimping up there. Wouldn't mind seeing that run out just a little further. Lefties are going to possibly have an issue with this knife. Time and time again, lefties, have a question mark with that button. Are you going to be over top of it if you're choked up? And the answer is yes in this situation. Even with this area flared out here where you may have a flipper other times, which prevents you from choking up too far, you can still go over top of that and then therefore be over top of the button. Are you going to push it in? Probably not. You would almost have to intentionally push down right there. Now, if I was a lefty, would I want to risk it? Probably not. As a righty, you're not going to have a worry. You would have to deliberately push on it and try to, push that blade down. You'd have to intentionally do it as a right-hander. As a lefty, I don't see it happening, but it's definitely plausible, especially, the way some of these button locks sit. This is not recessed. It is proud on the scale. It does look very good, though, and they did that, I think, for a reason. If they would have recessed around it, that would have interfered with the inlay. We are looking at a completely sterile blade, pretty much a completely sterile knife. We have the steel marking on the clip side, and then we just have the L there on the pivot. This is a really good looking knife. There's one, in my opinion, question mark on the knife. At least one that I have come to. I really like that they went with a good size. We're looking at 8 1/4 overall on this bad boy. 3 1/4 cutting edge and 3 5/8 of total edge, or just about. So what does that mean? Well, we have the Vastid Raccoon and the Kaiser Drop Bear. You're going to see this is a much longer and larger knife, a girthier knife. It's going to be considerably a full-size knife, where these are more mid-size knives. So now we bring out some big boys. We got the full-size Militol and the CJ RB Frac. It's not going to have a whole lot on the Frac. That is a very large folder. But in regards to the Militol here, we are very close in size. I think the Challenger K1 is going to have a little bit more substantial handle. And it's going to be more substantial in the hand because you have that full steel handle. But they're going to be very similar in their length. We'll go ahead and we'll check to see what this looks like in the pocket here. See what kind of retention we have, and pretty good retention there over that initial spot. And this is going to carry like a standard milled clip does. You'll have a little bit poking out of the pocket there, but for everything it looks very clean. You have this nice milled clip made out of steel, and then you'll have a little bit poking out there, and that'll be a nice place to grab a hold of this thing to pull it out of the pocket. Good retention on the way out. That is exactly what we want to see. As far as the weight goes with this knife, it's kind of going to be tricky. We have a full steel handle here, over 8 inches, but we have a lot of weight relief internally there. This feels very good. If you didn't know, if somebody handed you this, you would have trouble, I believe, knowing whether if this was titanium or steel. You would have to check it. The way that it's finished, the way that it looks, and the way this just feels in the hand. There's some other tells, but, if you weren't really hardcore into knives, even if you were into knives, I think some people would struggle to know whether this was titanium or not without checking it. Because it sure as hell looks and feels like titanium, and not feels in the sense like feels, but feels in the hand as far as the weight. It's not heavy like steel typically would have been a year ago. A year ago, you couldn't pass steel off as titanium, but nowadays they're getting damn close. Feel free to let me know what you are carrying in your pockets today down in the comments. Love seeing what you guys are carrying for the day. So let's take a gander here. This is a substantial knife. I'm going to say 4.5. Is that right? 4.5? I'm sticking with it. Oh! Ooh! 4.55, baby. Damn. I was way off a week or two ago. I was uncalibrated, but we're getting back around there. So let's see what kind of edge we have on this thing. We'll start with the flat up here by the tip. Very good. Go to that hollow primary. And the good news is, guys, even with a little bit of stropping, even if this was nice and sharp, right? Couple passes on the strop, and this thing will be just a laser beam. It's got a nice edge on it out of the box. Nice edge. No complaints there. So now we get to the lock. This knife is centered up There's not going to be detent lash because there's no detent. There's no movement in there with that pivot, no pivot lashing. We do a soft open there, and it's locked out nicely. There's no up and down, and there's no side to side, which is very good with a plunge lock. Even if you have a little bit of play one way or the other with a plunge lock, crossbar lock, not a huge deal, not a cause for concern at all. So let's see how this lock is going to hold up. We'll bring the undefeated spine whacker out here, and we'll see what we got. We are positively locked up there. Sounds good, I can tell. No, we're not seeing if we can hammer in a 16 penny nail or anything like that. We're just making sure that the tang is not going to slip off that lock or vice versa. We're just making sure we have good contact out of the box. I personally want to know what I'm looking at from tip to butt with my knives, and I want to show you guys what we're looking at out of the box. So deal with it. Sounds good, and it feels good. Very good. So the big question mark, guys, is going to be the price tag on this thing, and it's, you know, and this is where I'm, you know, I didn't know the price initially. I was all in on this knife. I was thinking like 60 to 65 for the price tag of this in my head. And it's at $79.99. That's full retail. This is brand new. So I do look for this to go, you know, go into a coupon phase, and we're going to see this more affordable, I think. $79.99 is full retail. This thing just came out. So I would look for it to go down in price. And, you know, at $80, I start to say, well, what else is out there at 80? What other materials, kind of build quality, all that sort of thing. And you start thinking, okay, well, it's 14C. We have Nitro V, have some 154 CM mixed in there. We have steel liners, and then typically FRN, G10, or micarta as a scale material over top of our steel liners, right? And sometimes there's no steel liners at all. So here we have a full steel handle with a recessed inlay of Damascus G10 with a nice chamfer all the way around the handle here, except a little bit on the butt end, and even that's kind of got a slight chamfer. But the, you know, main portion of this entire handle has been chamfered off very nicely, and you can tell that's going to pay off in the hand. This feels very comfortable with that nice flat clip. It just feels very good in the hand. So we have great materials here, and I think, you know, when you jump into $80, when you have a knife design that you put out in the $80 realm, it better be, that's a pull of killers in there at $80, right? I mean, there are all kinds of great knives under 85 bucks. And if you're going to jump into that market, you better be swinging pretty damn hard. And I think Lothar did here swing pretty damn hard with this knife. You know, it's going to be up to you to decide what price this is worth to you. I wouldn't say anything to anyone who went and picked this up at this price. I'm struggling to say yes or no. What I can say is, and where I work myself is, if this was titanium with the same inlay, 14C, I'd pay $120 for this all day long. So as this is steel and not titanium, but it's $40 cheaper at $80, is it then, you know, start to make more sense? I'm struggling with that, and you guys will have to let me know. Before I looked this knife up, I don't know a ton on it, but I saw the price and I saw a few other things. And before I saw that, I was like, this is 100% go. Because from what I'd ever seen from Lothar in the past has been very, very affordable. And I think this is their step up into, this this area. They're not just shooting from the hip here. They put a, something substantial out there on the market. And I think this is going to be a winner if the pricing meets the crowd demand and idea, right? Because, we can look at Civivi, we can look at Kaiser, and yes, I know everybody has their sales where you can get this crazy deal on this, that, and the third for under 50 or 60 bucks, whatever. But as far as new knives coming from Civivi and Kaiser and QSP, we're looking at 14C, we're looking at Nitro V, we're looking at aluminum, we're looking at steel handles, micarta, and G10. And they're typically going to be between 60 and 85 bucks. So maybe even 90 bucks. Hell, we saw Civivi put out the Sentinel Strike in K110 for 90. So, I'm not mad at the price. I'm just trying to consume it all and take it all in. I'm still trying to figure it out. Maybe some more time with the knife and I'll be able to nail it down. I think they have a solid design here, and if they stay on track with what they're doing here and continue bringing more, turn this into a button compression lock, a button frame lock, crossbar lock. The plunge lock is a good move because a lot of people are tired of liner locks and frame locks. I'm not, but a lot of people are. Some people won't buy a button lock because they're not as dependable as other locks. So it's always a double-edged sword no matter which way you go. But for a plunge lock folder here, this thing's pretty damn solid. I don't know what I could change on here except maybe the price. And even then I'd be like, well, what, I don't know. Because the market is crazy. Like I just said, Civivi just put out a knife not too long ago for $90 in K110. And I don't know if it was aluminum or steel. Don't really matter. It's irrelevant. So, and then you got knives that come out 50 to 60 bucks, steel liners, micarta 14C. So it's a really weird spot, and I'm still just dumbfounded as to what to conclude on this one. I'll leave it up to you guys to let me know what you guys think. Ultimately, I think this is a really solid knife. I'd have no problem with someone going and picking this up at full retail and feel like you're getting your money's worth. As long as I don't know. I haven't seen HRC testing on their stuff. I think they know well enough that it can be checked and tested easily, and that it most likely will. So to put false stats up anywhere wouldn't make any sense. So if we follow that they are hitting 59, 60, 61 with their 14C, which is what it said their range was, we're going to have a hell of a pocket knife here. So you guys tell me. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up on your way out. If you're new here, I release daily videos just like this. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Ring the bell. That'll notify you when I do release new content. I'll put up a couple of new videos on your screen. Go check one of them out. Have yourself an awesome day. Thank you all again for watching. I will catch you on the next one.